What's up, everybody? It's CMP with Craftmaster Productions and Studio1Tutorials.com. Don't forget to stop by Studio One Tutorials, pick up your premium membership. It is 50 cents a day. And don't forget to stop by CMPKits.com. Get yourself a copy of Trap Chords Volume 2, 40 amazing, complex, intricate, delicious, scary, lush, emotional chord progressions for use in your productions, all royalty free, of course. Follow me on Instagram if you want to get a hold of me the quickest possible way. If you need to ask me a question, cuss me out at Craftmaster3. Also, don't forget to stop by Spotify, get the back catalog of Spices Sundays while you're sitting at home wondering what you could do. You could be listening to me and MG the Future expose Cap. Now, today we're going to be looking at a how to chop samples tutorial on the MPC. The core principles can be used inside Live and they could be used inside FL Studio, but really what I want to bring to you guys' attention is how to chop samples in the MPC. Now you bought yourself an MPC, you're coming from a DAW and you're trying to figure out the whole workflow. And what I want to show you guys off rip, and what I want to tell you why this chopping sampling tutorial is different from everybody else's tutorial on the MPC, is that I'm going to show you the mentality of taking it from a visual space like a DAW and putting it into a more tactile space like the MPC. All right, so typically the basics of chopping samples goes into the basics of counting beats, right? So when you have a DAW or a song or anything, you have a metronome. 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 3. So that's going to be your basis of chopping samples. If let's take something that's not going to get us. I want to keep my money for this video, right? Let's go into a composition like this, right? All right, so from a visual perspective, right? If you wanted to chop a sample from something like this, you would go here and you would type in 75 beats per minute. And the real lazy way to do it you could maybe set your time bar up here for half a beat and use the split it grid function. You right click on this, you would send it to a where do we go? You send this to a new sample one, and then sample one would put each one of these samples across the keyboard for you. And then you could, go out and you could you could go out and you could set this up. You could set this up to draw. You could set this up to draw your chops, and then, if you're used to working in a piano roll, just kind of use trial and error. Right, and get something that you want to use your your piano roll to draw on the drums and so forth. Another DAW sampling technique that is really popular is using the ever powerful Serato sample and just clicking find samples and having the algorithm inside Serato sample chop you up some parts and pieces, right? Let's turn this off. Now, if you notice something about using either one of these methods, whether you're whether you're auto chopping on the grid or if you're using Serato sample, is that the way that these samples start is they start on a beat. They either start on a downbeat, which is when you're counting bars, that's the one, right? They start on a weak beat, which is gonna be like your twos and fours. So you have one, two, three, four. All right. So the technique that I'm gonna show you guys is pretty much what everybody does who uses a hardware sampler when they're getting into to running samples like that, and that is counting with the beat, right? So you could play this and you count along with the sample. You go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Like for a sample like this, because it's very straightforward because it's a loop. Kind of the way that I would do it, um, is I would set myself up. I have a couple parts that repeat, so I'd set myself up to do like I would chop every other beat. So I would do a one, I chop on the one, skip the two, and then hit the three, and then go back to the one, and then maybe for this part I would chop on every beat, right? Okay, and what this would give me if I highlight these and I send them into sample one, what these would give me is it would give me some options to go like this. So that's or I could do something like this. Which if like you sample if you're like a trap beat maker, chopping on every beat, you might like that system more, or you might find something where on one side you're going one, two, you know. So how do you do that? How do you do that in MPC, right? Because when you see it laid out before you, it's like, oh man, that's super easy. You've got the tempo and everything, and all you're doing is clicking here. As a matter of fact, I might just chop like that and run it into the MPC. But if you do that, it's kind of corny, right? So let's go into MPC right now, and I'll show you guys from scratch how I go about doing this. So you start with the blank screen, right? You got nothing. You want to go into I'll go to shift and I'll press menu, which will take me straight into the browser. And I have a shortcut which takes me to my samples, right? So let's go to a different sample and see if we could find something that's a little bit more interesting as far as the overall composition is concerned. So we'll go to compositions. Let's see if we can find something. All right, that's cool. Perfect. So I'm gonna load that onto a pad, right? And I'm gonna go to my sample edit. I only have one sample in here, so this is all I got, right? The first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just take this guy right here, make sure I'm in trim mode. We'll go to process, and I'm gonna discard that end piece, right? So if you if you go and you hit trim again and you go into chop, you have a couple different modes. You could go into threshold, regions, or BPM. You don't want to do well, I mean, you could do whatever you want, but if you want to find like if you're one of these guys like you want to find your own chops and do whatever you want, this mode is what you'll do, right? So you can choose to play the sample up there. That's your play sample, right? Right here is going to set me a chop at the beginning or wherever I pull this start bar to. And then as I keep on counting the beat, I can hit the next pad and it will put those chops in for me, right? So first let me play it and kind of count it out. One, two, three, one, two, three, two. So hitting the tap tempo like that is a good habit to get into because then you'll be able to lock your session with the tempo of the BPM if it's not provided. All right, so now we could start out and I'll go and we'll just count it out. I'm gonna do every other beat and then just kind of watch how I count along with the beat and where I'm placing my chops. Right, so let's try it. One, two, three, one, two, three, two. So now that I've got that, you see how when I reached the end of this pad, MPC automatically switched over to bank B and let me continue my chops. That's probably one of my favorite things about this. So from here, right, what you want to do is you want to press shift and you want to press convert and you want to make sure that you're chopping um new MPC programs using using drum slices and then non-destructive slice. Non-destructive is what's going to allow you to change the start and end points of these samples um, while keeping everything intact. So I'm going to go ahead and do it. Now, if I go back to the main menu, it'll bring up my sample. You see how I've got all these green pads lit up, and I have. Just as simple as that. So as long as you have a good sample and as long as you're, you know, musically competent enough to count to a beat, chopping samples is super simple. All you have to do is catch that rhythm and then, you know, intentionally decide is, you know, am I gonna chop every other beat? Am I going to chop on every single beat? And you see, when I was doing it, there were spaces where I would let 4 beats go. There were spaces where I would let 2 beats go. And then there were spaces where I did. So hopefully that helps you guys out, kind of bridge the gap between the visual world and, you know, the hardware world of the pads. This is CMP with Craftmaster Productions, Studio12tutorials.com. You guys keep it simple, but don't be basic. And we'll see you on the next one, fam. Peace.